Welcome to the Field of the Dead. And this is my husband's idea of a day out with his wife.
Hello, darling.
Hi.
So, we've had a number of requests for my missus to join in with a video, and you've wholeheartedly decided to join in today, haven't you?
I have.
And we're going to be looking at a fascinating prehistoric site that was described in 1892, I think it was, by Harry Speight as the Field of the Dead. We're on the western edge of the Yorkshire Dales above Stackhouse, which may sound like a 1990s restaurant chain, but is in fact a hamlet, although we walked in from Feizor because it has a good tea room, a really good tea room. It's a rugged upland limestone plateau, and we had two attempts at this investigation. The first on New Year's Eve ended up being in the eye of the storm. The second visit may look a lot more pleasant, but we were up against sub-Arctic temperatures, and my poor wife ended up frozen as she sat on walls whilst I faffed around on ancient monuments. I mean, look at me here, motoring ahead and leaving her to deal with all the gates. The single-mindedness of the antiquarian. OK, darling, so just over there we have the Apronful of Stones, which is a late Neolithic, early Bronze Age burial cairn, much damaged in the 18th century, but we've got some really interesting history, and it is just a part of this Field of the Dead that we're looking at today. There is some mumbo-jumbo. Will you pick that up?
Right up my street.
That is right up your street, isn't it? Right, let's to it. Right, come on then, let's go. Oh. So, you'll have to excuse the sniffing. It's very, very cold today. This is the Apronful of Stones. Now, as you can see, it's pretty trashed. We have a record from the Gentleman's Magazine. I love the idea of a Gentleman's Magazine. From 1784, I think it is. And the author of that, somebody called W.F., visited this when it was semi-destroyed. And he'd spoken to locals, and they remembered this being complete. So we would have had a sort of a conical shaped stone structure on the top here, and then this stone here, this magnificent stone here, sat on the top. I don't know if you can imagine what this was like. We'll perhaps have to try some state-of-the-art technology to see if we can recreate it. But it was really quite a structure. So whoever was buried here 4,500 odd years ago probably was quite important. Now, interestingly, these 18th century reports tell us that they found disarticulated bones in here. And that's one of the ways we know that it could be as old as early Neolithic. No cremation, basically. The bones were sort of in compartments. I mean, it is impressive, but it's a real shame that it has been trashed in this way. Harry Speight, when he had a good look in the around 1892, felt that it had fallen victim to treasure hunters, but they were disappointed. All they found was bones, and there are claims they found a tusk, but that's pretty unlikely. Here's our attempt at a recreation of what it may have looked like before the treasure hunters got to it. The stones would have been a lot smaller than in our pathetic effort here, but it gives you an idea of it. It's a round cairn of massive proportions, about 10 feet tall, according to W.F. in the 18th century, but 5 foot in Adam Morgan Ibbetson's excellent book. He has one on Cumbria too. I'm not being paid to say that. 59 feet in diameter. It is useful having Mrs. WC21 UK Productions Limited with me here today. So I've got her to stand on what is roughly the northern edge of the burial cairn. And that's on a winter solstice. I can't remember if it's sunset or sunrise alignment. I'll correct that down there. And our next feature here on the Field of the Dead is also on that alignment. So just slightly to the left of Mrs. WC21 UK Productions Limited there. Everything all right, darling?
Very cold.
Okay, so that's the Apronful of Stones. We'll pick up the mumbo jumbo shortly. Are you enjoying your day filming so far, darling?
I am.
Yeah? And I'm not doing that mansplaining thing that you warned me about, am I?
A little bit.
That will get me cancelled, so I must be careful not to do the mansplaining. Right, we're going to head off over that way now on the winter solstice alignment to have a look at our next feature. Shall we save ourselves from the cold and do a teleport?
I think so.
Right, okay, so here goes. There we are. That made it easy, didn't it?
A lot
That's
easier.
better. So this is Sheep Scar Circle on that alignment from the Apronful of Stones. Okay, so I'm now going to proactively involve the missus to help in this demonstration. So if you could walk out into Sheep Scar Cairn, Sheep Scar Circle. Now, that name is misleading. It's not a stone circle. It's a really interesting monument, and the missus is now stood there in the middle next to an open kist. Obviously, it's been trashed later on. But that kist is actually later. This was originally kist-free, and the belief is that it was a site for funerary preparation. And then obviously later on they adapted it and made it into a burial cairn along with the others up here on the field of the dead. Now, we checked the notes while we was in the teleport thing. Mrs, can you now confirm this is aligned with the...
Summer solstice sunset and the winter solstice sunrise.
That's it. So we've got the alignment perfect up here. It really is a very interesting monument, this one.
So this is the kist. We know that this is later than the original monument because in the 1800s excavation, they found earlier stone flint beneath it.
Okay, so that's Sheep Scar Circle, but it's a cairn really, and previously was a funerary preparation centre, possibly even preparing the dead for the Apronful of Stones. We do need to come back and pick up that mumbo jumbo on that in a bit. We're now going to head off over that way there to have a look at another feature on the field of the dead, a little bit more speculative, this one. So up ahead of us over there, darling.
Yes?
I don't know if you can see that sort of grassy knoll over there. But can you see how there's a line of stone around it?
I can.
So that is, well, it's obviously been adapted at some stage as an enclosure. Now, whether it's of the period that we're looking at here, I don't know. But I thought we're going to have a look at it anyway. What do you reckon then? Is this a constructed enclosure wall? You know, it could be any period. It doesn't have to be our sort of late Neolithic Bronze Age period. But the idea is that this has been enclosed at some stage. Now, I'll have to rely on the old Google Earth scam to show you it because the drone is not coping with the temperature up here today and keeps falling over, basically. But have a look at the Google Earth, see what you think. Now we've got up here, I think that the idea that this is a constructed enclosure is slightly off. I think you agree with me, Mrs. WC21 UK Productions Limited. This is natural, isn't it?
I think so.
Yeah. It looks very much like a limestone pavement as opposed to something that has been constructed. That's a little bit disappointing. I hope we'd better confirm that we had a prehistoric enclosure up here, but I don't think that we have. Let me know if you disagree in the comments. Mrs. WC21 UK Productions Limited is signing out now because the cold has got to you, hasn't it?
It has.
How cold do you think it is today? You're an expert on the weather.
It's about -6.
About -6. So she's now going to head back to the car, and I've got one more thing down here that I want to show you. So we'll say goodbye to you for now. Ah, that really is disappointing. I had hoped to be able to claim to have made an amateur antiquarian discovery there, basically riffing off of somebody else's suggestion, but that is a natural feature. That's not a man-made enclosure up there. That's the thing with antiquarianism. You have to get out into the field to test your ideas, and sometimes in doing that, your idea is wrong. Anyhow, we've got something else to have a look at. I think there's another cairn over here. Oh, without a doubt, look at that. You can see where the top of it has been dug into yet again by some antiquarian of old. So that's 3 funerary monuments in a very small area up here. Now, long-term viewers of the channel may remember, like back in the summer last year, I had a look up that end of the plateau at an Iron Age, a purported Iron Age burial feature, the Celtic Wall. That created a lot of debate in the comments. But it does seem that over a long period, thousands of years, this has been a favoured spot for the dead. Oops, a break in continuity. I've lost my backpack. Headley will go mad. He's obsessed with continuity, by the way. Now, if you look over that way, I don't know if you can make out a line of trees just over the edge there. That's a wood called Burin Wood. And there is a view that that name derives from this place having been a prehistoric burial ground. I mean, I don't know about Burin Wood, and I need to make it clear before everybody goes mad at me in the comments that I'm not saying that this area was favoured for burials over thousands of years from the late Neolithic through the Bronze Age and into the Iron Age. It's all too easy as an amateur antiquarian to make that mistake. But clearly at this end of the plateau up here, we've got significant early Bronze Age, late Neolithic burials. Important people liked this place. I hope you enjoyed that, our first video of 2025. It's a fantastic place up here. Do come and have a look if you get the chance. It's been a difficult shoot. Long shadows and sub-zero temperatures have killed my drone. I'm going to have to get a proper one, aren't I? Buy me a coffee. It was lovely having the missus with me as well today. And I'm not being patronising or mansplaining or any of that sort of thing, but I was really impressed she lasted as long as she did. She hates the cold, and that's her prerogative, isn't it? So, unfortunately, I'm also going to have to pick up the mumbo jumbo, aren't I? She was going to do that. So some people think the Apronful of Stones is not a prehistoric burial cairn. They think that the devil was on his way to Kirby Lonsdale to build his famous bridge, and he was carrying stones for that purpose in his apron. The devil has an apron, apparently. Did you know that? I didn't. And he dropped them, and they think that's what you're looking at, the devil's big stones. I'll let you decide which theory you prefer. And thank you for watching. See you next week for another video. She was going to do the ending as well.